Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman.
And hello, Sports Card Nation. Sports Card Nation podcast, episode 22, coming at you. Again, got a full show. Just me today, though. Our big topic is going to be the hot item on the market right now. It's Bowman, but I'm not going to specifically talk about 2019 Bowman. Sure, I will talk somewhat about 2019 Bowman, but I'm going to talk about just the Bowman product in general, kind of where it started in its reboot of 1989 and where we are 30 years later. It's the 30th anniversary of the reboot, and I think we all know the 2019 edition is a lot different than the 1989 edition, and not for obvious reasons with different players, more rookies, but the market's different, and what's being done with the product and how it's being marketed and on the secondary market's completely different. So we're going to touch on that. I call the show, Bowman, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to dissect it. I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons. And yes, there are some cons with Bowman, and there's obviously pros as well. We're going to talk about both of them. I'd like to welcome a new sponsor to the podcast, Blake from Deep Fried Breaks. Check them out at deepfriedbreaks.com. Great breaker, free shipping, lots of selection. Happy to have them aboard. Hoping to even have them come on here in a week or two, and we'll talk a little bit of cards. So without further ado, let's not delay.
And here we go.
We love our listeners. We know without you, there's no us. We care about your feedback and opinions and invite you to reach out to us at any of our social media accounts. You can reach us on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast. That's at Sports Card Nation Podcast. Or on Twitter at Sports Card Natty1. That's Sports Card NATI1. Or email us at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. That's sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We try not to ask for much, but if you are enjoying the show, we ask that you give us a shout out, tell your friends, spread the word, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter, and we love positive reviews. So we'd appreciate if you took a minute and gave us a positive review on any platform you're listening to the show on. Thank you. Deep Fried Breaks. Card breaks served with a side of Southern hospitality. Come hit some deep fried fire. Right now it's all about Bowman at Deep Fried Breaks, and they're hitting it hard. They like to mix it up with current products and fun classics, the best of both worlds. They have all the best release night breaks, and you won't find a more approachable breaker in the industry. He's glad to help anyone, whether it's their first break or their 1000th break. Free shipping and great selection. Deep Fried Breaks has everything you need when you're looking for that break. Check out Deep Fried Breaks at deepfriedbreaks.com. All right, so this is Bowman release week. Much anticipated every year for those that like, probably one of the biggest breaking weeks for breakers. They open a mass amount of this product. It's in high demand. People prospecting, buying teams to get all the colored autos and parallels of those young prospects and hopefully, in their case, future stars. And it's sort of, to me, like the Super Bowl breaking. I mean, like, everyone has the product. It's obviously not a limited edition product where there's a short run of prints. So everyone has the product. They're breaking it. And you look forward to it every week. I do myself as well. But I wanted to do this piece for a while now. I was waiting for the right time. And, with it being Bowman release week, and I did have an interview scheduled this week, and something came up, and the guest had to reschedule. So I had that kind of time format. And I said, man, this is the perfect opportunity, John, to do this segment. You've been thinking about it. So it kind of worked out timing-wise. And I wanted to talk about Bowman, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I wanted to talk about Bowman, everything about it, dissect it, kind of break it down, starting in 1989 when Topps rebooted it from the 50s. And if you're old like me, you remember the 1989 release, the oversized cards, the ones that stick out of normal top loaders. They're a little taller than those. Famous for, obviously, the Griffey rookies. And, remembering that product, it was really, the pretty basic looking cards, kind of clean in the front with a facsimile signature on it. And, Bowman's tagline is home of the rookie. And I definitely think, they definitely hit that mark. But in 1989, it was, not really so much. There are a few rookies, but, it's night and day to 30 years later. And obviously, players are different. The games change. I get all that, but this product is there's really no comparison other than the name is the same. But the products have really went off in a different direction as to what it is. And I want to talk about that somewhat. Pros and cons. I'm going to talk about things I like or think are good about Bowman. And, there's things I are bad, I think, when it comes to the Bowman product. Bad, a little bit bad for the hobby. And we're going to talk about all that stuff. I'm not going to spend... I kind of said what I was going to say on 89. We all know it's famous for the Griffey rookie, those oversized cards with the facsimile autograph. The other kind of famous card to really come out of that product was another Griffey card, the one where he appeared with his dad on the same card, which everyone thought was pretty cool back in the day, and probably still do. It is a cool card. And, we have to go back to 89 because that's really the rebirth and where it started all again. But here we are in 2019, and this is definitely a kind of a breaker's product. It's a product, and I honestly, truth be told, I had planned to buy a case or two of this myself. Not so much to open, and I know it sounds, whatever, sounds what it is. I had planned to buy a couple cases to actually just resell, because this is a product, you can kind of see this coming. It seems to get worse every year or better, depending on what side of the aisle you fall on, but where the boxes skyrocket to 2 or 3 times what the pre-order price is. And this product with the 2019 Bowman, it came out in a pre-order, and it seemed like less than a week, and it was already rising in price before it's even released. The pre-order prices went up and then up and up, and between I had some things going on here, getting my son ready for college and doing paperwork and taking visits, I kind of dozed, and I missed that opportunity to buy some of the hobby version of the 2019 Bowman with the intent to basically flip it, for lack of a better term. So I didn't get in on that, kind of kicking myself. And it's kind of become that product. It's kind of become, you see all these shows on TV where these people buy the houses, they're kind of beat up or broken down, and then they renovate them and then resell them and flip them and that sort of thing. And maybe it's not the greatest comparison, but Bowman is sort of kind of like that. You try to buy it as early as you can at the lowest price, and then on that Bowman week, that being this week, you got a couple choices. Do you sell what you have that first day? Do you take a chance that the product gets as hot as anticipated? You wait a few days and you even get a little bit more juice out of that orange, so to speak. And it's kind of like playing the market. And if you waited a little bit on the 2019 Bowman, it kind of paid off, because this product has literally doubled and tripled at its opening price. And dealers who are breaking it, who have flown through the product to replace it, they're definitely going to be paying a lot more money to keep breaking it. And of course, that higher price tag gets passed on to the consumers, those of us who buy into brakes. So I won't be definitely buying into any 2019 brakes. I think it's kind of priced itself out for my personal taste. But let's talk about Bowman, not just 2019 Bowman, but Bowman in general. I love, one of the things I do love about Bowman, it's the earlier insertion of these young stars. You're getting guys in this product that are in rookie level minor league ball, single A, 4 to 5, maybe even and more away from ever making an appearance in the major leagues. So it's that early exposure. You're able to follow, basically the trajectory of a young player's career, and never before did you have guys appear on cardboard 4, 5, 6 years from their actual major league debut. If you go back to the traditional releases, even back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even the 80s, sometimes guys didn't even appear until their third or fourth year in the league. They just didn't make cards of them until a certain amount of time, when I think the card companies recognize, like, yeah, he's going to probably be around a little bit. Go ahead and produce a card of him. So you went from that standard to now guys, if there's any sort of tout to them, they're going to get a card produced. And that's what Bowman's become. And I got to be honest with you, that aspect I like. It's good for these players. What if you're that guy in rookie, highly touted prospect, you got your Bowman card released, and let's say it you don't pan out, or you get hurt, and you never fulfill your dream to make the big leagues, you still appear on some cards. You can show your family down the line and friends, hey, this is when I played. And we don't think about all those intangible things like that all the time. But I actually think it's neat that guys are getting on cardboard that early in their careers, and that aspect to me is one of the positives. So I like that. Piggybacking off that thought is their autos. You got these early autos of these young stars, when they're 17, 18, 19. And that's never, think about the industry in the past. That's a fairly new thing, and it's nice to be able to get a young player. The problem with it is, they're signing so much product at such an early age. Here's another thing you don't think about. Look at some of these autographs of these guys they're signing. They're just like scribbling their thing, because they're probably having to sign thousands of these cards, and they're just hurrying it. And I think the autographs are suffering, the quality of the autographs. It's to the level now, guys, when you see a really nice looking signature, that sticks out to you more than anything else. And a lot of these other guys are just signing in such a hurried fashion, trying to blow through these stacks that they're getting to that have to sign, and a lot of them are just putting initials, 2 letters, 1 letter, others are just looks like one blob of ink or marker, and it's really a sloppy signature. And I don't know about you, but I appreciate a really nice looking signature in comparison to a sloppy signature. One of the best signatures, frankly, I've ever seen. If you've never seen, look it up. Is Mariano Rivera's, one of the prettiest signatures you ever seen. Mickey Mantle's another nice one, going back a little further. And there's something about those really crisp looking autographs that you appreciate as a collector, as a fan, even as a dealer, And now these young guys, they just sign in thousands of cards that it's just a race to get to the finish line and get these all signed so they can quit doing it. And how do you do it? You just sign them faster, you get sloppier, you get shorter with your penmanship, and I think overall that product suffers. I know it's still an autograph, it's still certified, I get that aspect of it, but I think the quality suffers, and I think that hurts the Bowman. I think while it's great we're able to get autographs of some of these guys very early in the stage of their career, I think the autograph we're getting is of poor quality. So that's the trade-off that you make. Okay. The other positive thing I like about Bowman, the prospecting aspect of it. I like the prospect. Although I will say Bowman has kind of made that a little bit harder now, and I'll get into that in a minute. Let me talk about the positive stuff. As someone like myself who likes the prospect, I listen to a lot of minor league podcasts that talk about these guys before, no offense, you might hear about them, and I go to the games here in Syracuse. It's the AAA team of the Mets now. But even following these guys on rookie level, single A, high A, and listening to these podcasts, Baseball America, Baseball One, where you get a lot of insight to some of the holes in these guys' games, at an early level. There's guys, I'm not going to mention any names at the moment, but, there's guys where highly touted, but I've listened to these podcasts I'm talking about, and those scouts and experts on the shows are saying, like, he's not going to translate well into the big league. So while a lot of other people are kind of buying this person up, I've kind of, avoided it at all costs. And a lot of times in these cases, those scouts were exactly dead on, and I didn't put any money into those guys where others did. I like the prospect. I like to even buy 100 base first Bowman cards of guys I think definitely have superstar potential on them. And that's always fun. You buy them, and like I said, with these guys being 4, 5, 6 years away from making any sort of major league impact, you buy them and you kind of forget about them. I have a couple monster boxes just full of a lot of these young Bowman stars, and you put them in that box. I actually put them in alphabetical order, believe it or not, so I can find them later on when they hit, if they do, and you kind of put them in that box, and it's like wine, you put them in the box and you let them marinate, you let them age, and hopefully 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, you're pulling them back out, and they're worth a lot more than what you bought them for, and that's hit or miss. I've done that with a lot of guys too, and the opposite happens. It just doesn't work out, whether it be an injury, a hole in their game they can't overcome, that's an injury, that's the chance you take. But you have to admit, that's the fun part. If you're a prospect, that's really the fun part of it, is that waiting to see did I make a good choice, did I make a good decision or not. It's that living on the edge sort of aspect of it that really makes it fun. Bowman's a great product. I love the designs for the most part every year. It's been very few years where I said, man, that's terrible or that's really not good. I know a lot of people with this year's release, 2019, really bagged on the design, and I was one of the few that said, you know what, I like it based on the pictures I'm seeing. I'm on the other side of that aisle. And now that I've seen it in person, I even more so. So, and some of those critics have actually done a 180 themselves as far as design goes. So, but let's talk about some of the cons. Let's be real. It's an overproduced product. There's just tons of this product being made. It's all over the place, and even buying those first Bowman cards up in the 100-card lots. I mean, there's really no shortage of them per se. I think what's going on now too is what certain rookies have went for in the past has caused overpricing with today's young stars. A Wander Franco gold out of this year's product already brought $5,000 on eBay, $5,000 for a number to 50 gold auto Wander Franco. And I'm not saying Wander Franco is never going to make it, but we really don't know. And if I got $5,000, I'd probably rather buy 8 to 10 2011 Mike Trout updates, graded or ungraded. I mean, you know what you got there. Wander Franco's good. You just don't know. That's the chance you take. And even at $5,000, what is that card? What is really the long-term viability of that card? How much can that card really make you after investing $5,000 in it? And that's an issue. It's caused overpricing on some of these guys that haven't done anything yet. Some of these guys going for $5,000 haven't had an at-bat above single A. So they're dominating, guys that might not even be playing baseball in a couple years. They're hitting balls off pitchers that may have a 2-year minor league career and be washed up. So, yes, there's scouting reports and all that. I get all that, but I don't know. To me, I rather invest $5,000 a different sort of way. But to each their own. But, if you're really a true Wander Franco fan, you're almost priced out for being able to get a card like that. You're just not going to be able to touch it unless you pony up the bucks. Let's talk about some other prices on some of these guys. We all know the Trout Orange brought $150,000. And I hate that it sounds crazy to say this, but that might be a decent investment. Time will tell there. Jared Kelenic, he's a guy I actually like. I think he's going to be a decent major league player. But a red auto of him, $5,250. Drew Waters, a Braves prospect, and they're loaded. And he, I don't know about Drew Waters. He's, I think he's going to be either boom or bust, and he may be bust. We don't know. But a red auto of him, $5,000. Ronald Acuna, who's actually proven he can play on this level. A blue to 150, $3,900. Vlad Jr., a blue to 150, $3,750. That's a lot of money, even in today's day and age. And, Vlad's a guy that scares me a little bit. There's reports that he's, the Blue Jays want him to come in better shape, that he's 30 pounds over the target weight they set for him. There's talk that his defense has suffered because of this, and he may project to be a career DH if he doesn't slim down and get in better shape. And if you know anything about the game and the industry, DHs who hit a lot of home runs are not hobby darlings, and their card prices suffer because of it. So if that's the case and you have a lot of money tied up in Vlad Jr., you really got to think about what direction you're headed in the long-term viability of what you're doing. So there's something to think about, The other thing with Bowman, the spin-off products, some of them are nice some years, but you got your Bowman's Best, your Bowman Platinum, which most people hate. I sometimes like it, and other times, meh, depends on the year and how it looks. And Bowman Draft. The Bowman Draft, I get the concept with that, so I'll give it a pass. You get your a lot of your draft picks in there right away, early on, which I do like. Bowman Best, I'm not sure really what that fills. It's just kind of an all chromium reason to make another set that says Bowman on it. So I could live without Bowman's Best, Bowman Platinum as well. I like to just see Bowman. I guess if it was up to me, I like to see Bowman and Bowman Draft. But Topps is not going to do that because it knocks two opportunities off the table to generate more money. And another reason I'm not a big fan of the Bowman product, truth be told, is as someone who does prospect, who tries to get in on these guys and buy them early and put them away, is this product has really made that sort of difficult. For all the research I do, listening to those minor league podcasts, Baseball America, Baseball One, Prospect One, there's probably a good 3 or 4 prospect podcast that I recommend. It's not a secret. They're out there. You can find them. Even those that don't listen to those shows, based on the ones people who may be listening to the shows or doing the research and the buying patterns, those people are kind of piggybacking and just following those leads. And so the people are kind of doing the homework, doing the legwork. The lazy people are just kind of following their lead, and it takes away that advantage you have of kind of advanced scouting or advanced looking into these rookie and single A guys and buying their cards. Now everyone kind of tails on what you're doing, and it takes away that advantage that I think we once had as prospectors to buy these young players' cards and put them away. I think everyone sees the buying patterns. eBay is partly responsible for that as well. People start to notice, oh man, look, all these people buying, Joe Adell, or maybe he's not the greatest example, but other guys that are kind of, Keston Hiura. I was kind of an early Keston Hiura guy before a lot of other people were, but a few of us and others that were starting to buy him up and buy a lot of his stuff. Other people didn't even know who he was, quite frankly, truth be told. Just said, hey man, look at all this Keston Hiura is getting bought up left and right. Maybe I should be doing that too. So it took away the advantage you have as a prospector to even kind of get a jump start maybe on someone else. And then in turn, it drove up the price because now you have more people going after the same general card. So the price increases. So there's pros and cons to the Bowman release. I think it's sort of a split. It's kind of a two-sided coin for each of these. More autographs of young players very early on where you never had that opportunity before. But now that autograph is sloppy and really short and looks terrible because these guys are just asked to sign way too much stuff. Prospecting, you get to get these early cards of these young players 4, 5, 6 years from them ever making a major impact in their sport. But then you're buying analytics, tip off other people to what you're doing, and they jump in on the fray, which drives up the price as well. So there's really two sides to the coin. I do love Bowman. At the end of the day, it's a great product. It's what it is, what it was in '89 and what it is today. It's great. Okay, and you can't compare the two. We're talking about two different eras. I'm not saying I dislike the product. I just think it's not all roses and daisies like a lot of people always make it out to be. I think it's reared some ugliness in the hobby with certain things, and that's all I'm really trying to bring out to the forefront. I'm going to buy it. My buying is going to be kind of a two-headed monster. I'm going to be buying more retail, probably blaster boxes and cello packs, that sort of thing. And then I'm going to scour the secondary market for young prospects that I think are going to be hit it later on and just buy lots. That's what I like to do, is buy those first cards of them in 100 count lots, 200 count lots, some colored parallels if you can get them at a decent price, and that sort of thing. But really, the colored autos of any kind of these young prospects are already, just to me, way too high. To buy a Wander Franco now for $5,000, I don't know, it just makes no sense. You could buy that Wander Franco, auto card number to 50, number to 100, $3,500, $5,000. Next week he can turn rounding. He can get a base hit, round first base, tears ACL, and never be the same player again. And you're going to be out that investment. And I know that's the chance you take. But to me, if I'm going to spend $5,000 in the hobby, I rather make a safer play. I rather put it in Mike Trout stuff. You know what he's doing. I rather go back old school and get a Jackie Robinson rookie for $3,500 or $4,000. I mean, those guys are already legends. Their contributions to the game are made and done and can't be taken away. I just think it's, to me, maybe I'm the old guy on the porch. To me, what some of these guys who are 4, 5, 6 years away from the big leagues with no guarantee of being a successful major league player, the prices they're bringing at this stage is really head scratching, and the product has kind of brought us to that point, and it is what it is. I guess I'll stay away from that aspect, but you see it and it's head scratching to me, and it is what it is. But again, at the end of the day, it's a great product. It's a product I look forward to every year. It's a product I open every year. It's a product that, like I said, I have monster boxes of prospects that I just put in that box in alphabetical order. And it's funny when a young player kind of starts making an impact on the major league level. I have to go back to these boxes and obviously they're in alphabetical order and find and see if I have and what I have of that player. And that's, let's be honest, that's the fun part of it, is sometimes you forget what you bought 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And then you go back and say, oh yeah, look, I bought 50 of those cards. Forgot all about them. And it's kind of like, finding treasure, so to speak. So there's good and bad to Bowman. It's probably honestly 50-50 when you really break it down. But it is a great product. Topps has done a pretty good job with it for what it is overall. There's some things I'd love to see different, but with the amount they're selling, I think what you see is what you're going to continue to get from the product. So there's my 28-minute dissertation on Bowman. Let me know, do you agree with me? Are you in a similar boat? Do you see things I'm seeing? Do you disagree with me? John, you're wrong. I think about it this way. That's why we do this show, for that debate. Message me, talk to me on social media, Twitter. Don't even have to be private message. Put a public message out there. Get everyone else in the hobby in the discussion as well, and we can always discuss it. So, Bowman, I like it. There's some warts to it that I went over, but yeah, I'm definitely a Bowman guy. So there you have it. All right, time to announce the winner of the Mariano Rivera 6-card lot, including the inserts. Pretty cool lot for the recently elected Hall of Famer. Had quite a bit of entries, like we usually do when we give away some free cards. So I'm really happy with the response we're getting with the giveaways, and so we're going to keep doing them, which I plan to do from the very start of the show. Maybe not every week, maybe every 2 out of 3 weeks, every other week, but we definitely want to make the show interactive, and everyone likes winning something. So it's our way of saying thank you to you. But so all the entrants were put on the list. We randomized it, and whatever the dice roll said, we whoever's at the top of that list will be our winner. We've made that pick. This person has 7 days before the next show to claim their prize, and we'll mail it off to them free of charge. And this entry was via email. This person sent actually a pretty nice note along with his entrance saying he enjoyed the show. We always like that as well. Ain't going to help you win necessarily, although this person did win in this case as he won through the randomizer. But the name of the email is Hoops Card Collector. Hoops Card Collector. So if Hoops Card Collector, who emailed me, can probably email me back from that email, giving me your address, and I'll get those 6 Marianos headed your way. Congrats to Hoops Card Collector. You got 7 days to claim your prize. Good luck. It's time for From the Box Seat. So let's head to the sports world. Unless you live under a rock, you saw last weekend Tiger Woods won the Masters. His first Masters in 14 years. His first major in 11 years. So no doubt a comeback of epic proportions in the sports world. Any way you slice it. You know, most people, I think myself, I can include myself in this category. Most people thought he was kind of done winning majors. Maybe he could compete here and there, maybe win one of these small tournaments, but we kind of wrote him off, done as a major player, major force in the golf world. And this Masters win changes that narrative. So now, you know, is he back? It's hard to say he isn't back. I mean, you win the Masters and the way he did it, he's proven that he can play that level of golf again. Can he do it consistently? Time will obviously tell that. We'll have to see. But the fact that he can put together 4 rounds like that and win a major tournament as such proves that there's still some gas left in that tank. Now, truth be told, I'm not a huge Tiger fan. I think a lot of the turmoil and controversy and trouble was all his fault and stuff he brought upon himself and set himself back. You know, I didn't really feel sorry for him. I know it sounds terrible, but when he was down and struggling, I wasn't rooting against him either. I want to make that clear. But I wasn't really a huge fan. You know, a lot of the reports you read of how he is, he's not really a great person. Now, people change. Maybe being, you know, some other things I've read are saying because he hit rock bottom, he's kind of changed his demeanor and his personality and how he is with people and how he treats people. And people can redeem themselves. And so maybe this is his redemption song. Maybe this is, you know, where he turns the page on the old Tiger, so to speak. And this is the new and more lovable and caring and nicer Tiger. And I really hope that's the case because, you know, for golf, they need that back if you can get it back. And I don't think anyone was more glad to see Tiger win that tournament than the PGA themselves. And so, you know, I think it's good for golf and good for this guy. You know, it's what I said on one of my personal Facebook posts. You know, he kind of paid his penance. You know, he did some bad things. He kind of was punished. kind of was in exile, if you will, for 10 years between injuries and not playing well. And you can't get that back. So he did his time, if you will, and maybe he's back. And if he is, I'll root for him. I don't root against him. Not my favorite player by any means, but he kind of paid his penance, and if he can be one of the best players in the sport, then he deserves any tournaments or accolades he gets now. So, it was nice to see, and, it was hard not to get emotional seeing him, run to his son after putting in there to win the Masters. And, as a dad, to see that emotion between a father and son, if that doesn't hit you, I don't know if you're human, So that aspect was beautiful to see, and we'll see. Was it a fluky tournament win, or is this guy back and ready to put everyone else on notice? I guess we're gonna have to wait and see there. But definitely, golf just got a lot more interesting. That's for sure. So let's go to football. The NFL schedules are released. We don't have time to go through all of them. You can check your favorite teams if you haven't already. A lot of revenge games, if you will. Guys changing teams. Your Le'Veon Bells and Antonio Browns, Odell Beckham Jr. Getting to play their old teams. And so a lot of those games, what they call the circle games, where everyone circles it on the schedule. There's a lot of those. So that'll be interesting. You got Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold opening up the NFL season in prime time. Are the Browns for real? I believe so, and I'm not happy to say that, being a Steelers guy, as most of you or many of you might know. But even being a Steeler fan, all those down years that Cleveland had, there was a part of me that actually felt bad for him. And now they got a quarterback, I believe, who's the real deal. They got a GM who's the real deal. They got some other surrounding pieces now. And, they're going to be a force to reckon with. And I had this debate with my son, who's also a huge Steeler fan, that I hate to say it, but I think the Browns are the favorite to win the AFC North. He thinks I'm still crazy. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, being a Steeler fan, but we're going to see. And there's a lot of teams like that have some hope springing eternal, Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay now. People are hoping he can revitalize Jameis Winston. He's kind of a quarterback whisperer. You got some new coaches in other places. Will Matt Patricia turn the Lions around in year 2? You got the draft upcoming. So, NFL football, to me, it's great. And I think the storylines, as always, are going to be there in this schedule. While we can't go through every game, if you look at it or peruse through it, there's going to be definitely some interesting games each and every week. So I'm looking forward to the NFL draft coming up, the NFL season after that. And let's go on to disgruntled players, because if it's the NFL, you got disgruntled players, and this week's disgruntled player of the week is none other than Jalen Ramsey. Okay, having some issues in Jacksonville. Didn't show up to voluntary camp, which is sort of like mandatory camp, because they take notice of who's there and who's not there. He's not returning calls from Doug Marrone, head coach, and Tom Coughlin, GM. Not a good thing when your boss and then your higher boss calls you, and you blow them off on the phone calls and don't answer and don't return the calls. That usually doesn't bode well. So this thing will be interesting to monitor. It may turn into an Antonio Brown type situation and results in Jacksonville having to ship maybe Ramsey out of town and give him a change of scenery, and where they can just recoup anything they can get for him. And this is the part of the NFL that I'm not particularly fond of, here where the players kind of call the shots or work their way out of a city they don't want to be in any longer. And this is the part I worry about, what happened with Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. Kind of Beckham too in New York. Now he wasn't making a ton of noise, but he's had his issues on and off the field, and those add up. And at some point, a team decides to just cut bait, and if your production doesn't equal the distraction, they're going to ship you out of town. But what happens with some of these guys, they're so disgruntled that they actually hurt their trade value, and teams have to take less just to get rid of them. I think that's Antonio Brown's the perfect example of that, acting like a wacko and cutting down his teammates and his behavior and his blonde mustache and the whole package. The Raiders wanted him, but they weren't going to give up the farm anymore. They know the risk involved with this guy, and so the Steelers had to take, cents on the dollar to move him. Now it may be subtraction, addition by subtraction. Time will tell there. But I know they originally wanted a first-round pick for him, and that didn't occur. So I think teams are looking at these diva players. I got a funny feeling that the interviews that these GMs and owners and front office staff do with these players in this year's draft and probably future drafts as well, they're trying to feel these guys out. Are these guys going to be locker room problems or front office problems with how they carry themselves, conduct themselves, social media themselves? They're trying probably not to draft those guys anymore. Even if they're talented, there's just other talented guys maybe they can weed through and get it without all the other baggage that comes with it. So I think guys like Antonio Brown and OBJ are and Jalen Ramsey are going to make teams really look at who you're picking here. And I think guys are going to get not picked in the slots they normally would based on maybe the perception of them and who they are and what kind of future person they're going to be as well. So we may be seeing sort of the dawning of a new NFL and new criteria for where a player goes, not just based on his skill level, but the person he is as well. We have to say sayonara in a sad sort of way to Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade, who have called it a career, both sure shot Hall of Famers for the NBA. Dwayne Wade had a triple-double for his last game. That's a good way to go out. They're obviously neither team made the postseason, so that regular season game is their final hurrah. I'm sure everyone's seen the Dwayne Wade Budweiser commercial. Pretty great stuff. Pretty sentimental. Hit you in the feels a little bit, and really a good guy. Appears from all signs, and great ambassadors of the game. And when you definitely makes you feel old. Like in my case, when you can remember these guys as rookies, and here they are, retiring, soon to be in the Hall of Fame. But they're passing the torch to the younger group, and it's kind of a changing of the guard in the NBA. And the game's a lot different too than the league Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki came into as well. So, Godspeed to those two guys. I'm sure they'll be successful in whatever they do post-basketball career. And in a few years, they'll be making their induction speeches in Springfield, Mass. On the baseball, okay, bat flips are the hot button topic. You got Tim Anderson in Chicago, a little bit of the Bryce Harper stuff, which wasn't that big of a deal, I didn't think, and I'm kind of old school. I played baseball myself. I'm kind of the old school where you don't show really anybody up. I used to pitch, and full, confession, if I thought another player showed up our team, myself or one of my teammates, he definitely got a pitch inside I let them know we took notice of that. It's kind of old school baseball. It kind of polices itself, so to speak. And, that's what happened in the recent incident with Tim Anderson admiring his home run, and then the kind of bat chuck. I'd call it more of a chuck than a flip. He just kind of threw it sort of like a javelin. But, hit your home run, run around the bases, and get in the dugout and celebrate with your teammates. I mean, all this admiring stuff and the chuck and the bat, it's a little bit WWE-ish, WWF, kind of wrestling-esque. And, people may disagree with my take right here, but I believe when you do that stuff, you open yourself up for that pitch that's going to come inside or get you in the hip and whatnot. You almost got to expect it. May not like it, but you know what? Hit your home run, run around the bases. If you want to run around maybe slightly slower, whatever. But don't show up the pitcher, the other team. Don't rub it in their face. And guys are kind of doing that. A little bit of a showboat. And then they get hit with a pitch. Benches are getting emptied out. And, I'm kind of old school. I don't have a problem with it. If a player's going to act like that after hitting a home run, I think you got to expect retaliation. If that player doesn't do it in the first place, hits his home run and just runs around the bases like a normal person normally would, then, play ball. But, when did it become the WWF and WWE all of a sudden, And so I don't have a problem with, what Brad Keller did and hitting them and after what I seen, Tim Anderson do. So, just play ball. If you're going to hit your home run, run around the bases like you do. And like they say in sports, act like you've been there before. So that's my 2 cents, or more like my nickel, pertaining to that. Let's talk a little hockey. We talked a little hockey last week with our buddy Andy Pratt on the show from Nova Scotia, and some of our early picks are done. In the equivalent of what would be a 16th seed beating a number one in like the basketball tournament. That basically happened in hockey with Columbus beating both mine and Andy's Stanley Cup pick, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and not just beating them, but sweeping them. That is to me shocking. It's even being called one of the biggest upsets in sports history, and it's probably in the mix. It's probably obviously not number one, but a lot of people picked Tampa Bay to hoist the cup. They had the best regular season record. They tied an all-time best points record in the NHL, and if you would have said they would have went out in the first round, and not only went out in the first round, but got swept by the 8th seed or whatever, the last seed that made the playoffs in the conference, people would think you're crazy. 4-0. But that's exactly what happened. So me and Andy will not be hired by Las Vegas to give out any betting tips, apparently. And the other, the Penguins, who I did pick to get past the Islanders. I didn't think they would last super long, but I did pick them past the Islanders. Now, Andy picked the Islanders, so he's right. But the Islanders swept them, and that's, to me, shocking when you got the talent Pittsburgh does with Crosby, Malkin, and that group. I know they're aging and they're not young anymore, but to get kind of manhandled and dismissed that quickly in the Stanley Cup playoffs is, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't surprised. So we'll see what happens there. What do those teams do? Tampa Bay's had the best record, set points records. You got talent. You just tanked in the playoffs. And Pittsburgh, that's a different scenario. You got kind of an aging team. Obviously you're not getting rid of your Crosbys. Malkin, I don't know what they're thinking there, but how does that team reload and not rebuild? And those will be questions those GMs and front offices will have to figure out. So, as these first round series all come to a close, these Stanley Cup finals are definitely going to ramp up, definitely get interesting. And it's, like I said last week, even if you're just a casual fan of hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs are definitely intense. And some of these series that going forward are definitely going to be really interesting. So. Well, that's a wrap for episode 22 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. At this time, like I try to do every week, I want to acknowledge you folks out there listening to the program. Without you, this show is nothing. It doesn't exist. It's like making pizzas and no one orders them, right? So I want to acknowledge and say thank you. Whether you've listened to all 22 episodes, 5 episodes, 11 episodes, this is the first one you ever heard. It doesn't matter. You've given your time, whether it be an hour or 40 minutes or whatever the show length. You give us enough time to listen to the show at that moment, and we want to acknowledge that and say thank you. On that note, we're going to continue, doing what we're doing, giveaways, content. If there's a topic you want us to see covered that we haven't covered yet, I know one of the topics coming in the near future is going to be what I call Grading 101. I grade a lot of cards here, and I'm going to kind of go through my procedures and SOP of how I prepare cards for grading, and the whole process really from the ground level to the end process when they're submitted, and tips and tools that I use. A lot of it's probably known stuff, but maybe some things, can be enlightening. So if there's something you want us to broach or cover that we haven't yet, let us know. As long as it's sports card related, sports world related, we'll talk about it. If you ask me about molecular science, that's going to be ugly, not my forte. So as long as it's sports cards, sports related, and something you want us to talk about, discuss on the program, we're game. We always love great topics, hot button topics. A lot of times it's flavor of the month or topic of the week stuff. And, sometimes it gets a little monotonous. It's kind of like the car wash, and we like to go off the cuff. We like to be a little different, kind of follow our own beat to our own drum and that sort of thing. So we like to consider ourselves one of the most interactive sports card podcasts. I'm not going to say we hold that title, but we're in that mix, no doubt. And so we care about what you want to hear, what you want us to cover. So by all means, give us that feedback. Let us know what you want to see and hear on the show. We'll never ask you for donations or money. That's not our thing, okay? The show is to always be free as far as I'm concerned, and the only thing we'd actually ever ask for, truthfully, folks, is just whatever platform you're listening to the show, you enjoy the show, give us a good review. We like them. If the platform you're listening to the program doesn't have like a review thing, we'd love to hear. Send us an email, a direct message, a private message, just telling us what you think, you enjoying the show, what you like, what you don't, even if what you don't like. We love that feedback. That's how we make improvements. That's how we add wrinkles to the show. This is your show. I know it's me as the main host, yada, 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 but this is honestly your show. It comes out every Friday morning like clockwork, and we want you to look forward to it. We want you to anticipate it, and nothing more can do that by making it interactive, things you want to hear and hear discussed. And if you've listened to me enough by now, here 22 episodes in, I'm sort of a kind of opinionated guy. I don't really mince a ton of words. I tell it kind of how I feel. It may not even be the most popular opinion in the hobby, depending on the topic, but I think people appreciate that. I hope people appreciate kind of being honest and sincere. There's no shtick here, really. Yeah, we use some sound bites on the program, but when I'm discussing anything or interviewing someone, it's me being me. It's me talking to another guest and forgetting there's even a microphone in front of us. So, and I think people, you folks, I hope you do appreciate that kind of aspect of it, and something we're going to try to keep bringing you and not change too much. But again, this is your show. Let us know what you think, what you want to see, what you want to hear. If you like the show, please, cost nothing to give a good review, and we really do appreciate those. So once again, I want to thank Blake Bollinger from Deep Fried Breaks for becoming a sponsor. Really good guy, a great breaking company. Check them out at deepfriedbreaks.com. Obviously right now Bowman is red hot, and they're definitely breaking that at Deep Fried Breaks. So go check them out. They got a great selection, old and new as well. So that's not something you always see in the breaking community. So the best of both worlds. Go give them a follow on all the social medias. Go to their webpage, deepfriedbreaks.com, and show them some love and check out what they got to offer. So with that being said, I'll steal a line from my good friend Billy Joel, who always closes his show by telling the audience, don't take any crap from anybody. So don't take any crap from anybody. We'll see you in a week. Thanks for everything. We'll see you next Friday. Take care, everybody.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.